Strip. As I stated earlier, Israeli forces rescuing not one but two hostages early in the Gaza Strip today. Joining us now to talk all things Gaza Strip with regard to the war actually taking place is none other than Mr. Harley Lippman, foreign policy expert, joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Mr. Lippman, we tried it once, we tried it twice, let's try it three times. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Three times the charm.
I got to tell you, it's the Monday woes, but we're so glad you were patient and stuck around with us. Obviously, this be a developing story happening right now here in America, and of course, what's happening over in Gaza, the rescue of two hostages. I got to tell you, it's probably putting smiles on a lot of folks' faces right now.
Of course, it's right out of the, HBO series Fauda, where you see Israeli forces coming in. They successfully took out the guards from Hamas and freed the hostages who are remarkably in relatively good shape and without the hostages being hurt. So yes, there's a lot of celebration in Israel, but of course, most of the hostages, all the rest, are still being kept in horrible conditions in Gaza. And, we're hoping for a quick end to the war. And for a lot of people that are upset about civilians being killed, it truly is heartbreaking. But the truth be told is that if Hamas had not crossed the border and raped and tortured people and slaughtered, not one Palestinian civilian would be dead today. And the problem is that Hamas uses people as human shields. They did this intentionally, knowing that they cannot destroy Israel now. They don't have F-35 planes or tanks. So what they decided to do was defeat Israel in the eyes of the world in the public relations war. So they launched this brutal attack, slaughtering innocent Israelis, torturing a 92-year-old grandmother, making her get on FaceTime with her family so everybody could see how she was being tortured. And they knew that this would provoke a very strong reaction in Israel. And Israel is going out of its way to avoid civilian casualties. They've sent 12 million robo-text calls, which means they will tell people in an apartment building that rockets are coming from that building. Israel needs to take out the building, evacuate. And also, who would also leave? Hamas fighters with their weapons. So Israel is really going above and beyond to fight this war by avoiding as many civilian casualties as possible. But Hamas is using the Palestinian people to gain propaganda points against Israel and trying to get world opinion against Israel. And they've been very successful in doing it. It's quite tragic, but Israel has no choice. They're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their existence.
And speaking of fighting
one other thing I want to share with Sorry?
Not to cut you off, but speaking for their lives, fighting for their lives, and fighting for their existence. You heard me make mention of two hostages rescued today, but quite honestly, we know that there happen to be more than 100 hostages still in, let's say, Hamas territory. This has really have to be concerning, not only for you, but for the families of those that are affected as well.
For sure, we are. And, if we look at the global stage, where Russia wants to subjugate the people of Ukraine and China wants to subjugate the people of Taiwan, Iran and Hamas want to murder and exterminate all Jews in Israel. That's the difference. So Israel is really fighting for a war for its survival.
You recently released, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it is today, an op-ed entitled "The Abraham Accords Are Alive." What exactly were you trying to get across with this?
I think that despite the distraction of October 7th, which was partly engineered to prevent Saudi Arabia and Israel from normalizing, I do believe it's inevitable and they will normalize. And this goes to the credit of the leader of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, who is a visionary and wants to uplift the whole region so that everybody could live in peace and tranquility and everybody could have better lives economically. And to do that, he needs to embrace Israel as a key partner in the region and make it better for everyone, Arabs, Palestinians, And I think that that's paramount. And I think that that's going to supersede even the horrific war in Gaza. At some point in the near future, I think normalization will be back on track, which will end the Arab-Israeli conflict, and I think open up the region to being in a better place.
Mr. Lippman, I got about a minute left before I let you go. I guess the million-dollar question is, what happens now, and what do you want to see happen now?
What happens now is that the Palestinian people in Gaza hopefully are fed up with Hamas and have seen what Hamas has brought them. Hamas has brought them terrible destruction and death. And that the hope is that whatever leadership emerges in Gaza, that it's a leadership that is going to govern their people wisely and help them have a better life and not be engaged in violence and war with their neighbor. Israel wants to live alongside of the people in Gaza, and we want to see leaders in Gaza who want peace. And, I hope that that becomes the outcome.
Yeah, well, as they say, peace in the Middle East, it's something we all strive for. Mr. Harley Lippman, always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Thank you so much for being patient, and thank you so much for joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone.
Great. Well, thank you for having me.